Speaker of the Russian State Duma, or lower house of parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin has issued a message to Bundestag President Julia Kloeckner and leaders of parliamentary factions. He said that Germany's transfer of military equipment and weapons to Ukraine, and the use of the transferred weapons against the civilian population, creates serious grounds for confrontation between Moscow and Berlin. Volodin noted that Berlin's shipment of Leopard tanks and other weapons to Ukraine marks the first time since World War II that German-made equipment has appeared on Russian territory. The German government is considering providing Ukraine with Taurus long-range missiles. However, Ukraine does not have the military expertise to use these weapons. If these missiles are used, they will in fact be fired at Russian targets by German officers, he noted. The chairman of the State Duma emphasized that with these steps, the German leadership is once again dragging the country into a military confrontation with Russia. Does the German people have a mandate for such a confrontation? He said in his appeal to Julia Kloeckner. Volodin has issued a message following Chancellor Friedrich Merz's remarks about the results of World War II, the Duma press service said. The message was prompted by the German Chancellor's cynical statements made in the United States. Speaking about the results of World War II, Merz distorted the history of the victory over Nazism, it said. According to Volodin, Merz should refresh his memory and stop justifying Zelensky's regime. At a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump in the Oval Office earlier, Merz, in the context of the Ukrainian conflict, recalled the anniversary of D-Day, or the Normandy landing of Allied forces on June 6, 1944, and the United States' role in that operation. In reply, Trump noted that it was not a great day for Germany. Russia is expanding its military footprint in Africa, delivering sophisticated weaponry to sub-Saharan conflict zones where a Kremlin-controlled armed force is on the rise. On May 31, dozens of heavy vehicles carrying armored vehicles and other military equipment returned to Mali's capital, Bamako. This equipment had passed through the port of Conakry, Guinea's capital, before returning to Mali, a major Russian ally in the Sahel region. Skirting sanctions imposed by Western nations, Moscow is using cargo ships to send tanks, armored vehicles, artillery and other high-value equipment to West Africa, the Associated Press has found. Mali has been facing a political and security crisis for over 10 years after a military regime took power through two coups d'état in 2020 and 2021. There is a void in the Sahel left by the departure of Western states, especially by the French, the United States, and other European countries. So this is an opportunity for Russia that is going to cost them basically almost nothing, said Raida Layamuri, a Sahel expert at the Morocco-based Policy Center for the New South. Relying on satellite imagery and radio signals, AP tracked a convoy of Russian-flagged cargo ships as they made a nearly one-month journey from the Baltic Sea. The ships carried howitzers, radio jamming equipment and other military hardware, according to military officials in Europe who closely monitored them. The deliveries could strengthen Russia's fledgling Africa Corps as Moscow competes with the United States, Europe and China for greater influence across the continent. The two-year-old Africa Corps, which has links to a covert branch of Russia's army, is ascendant at a time when US and European troops have been withdrawing from the region, forced out by sub-Saharan nations turning to Russia for security. Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger have been battling fighters linked with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group for more than a decade. Armed groups in Mali have inflicted heavy losses on Malian troops and Russian mercenaries. The Al-Qaeda-linked group JNIM killed dozens of soldiers in an attack this month on a military base. Insurgents also killed dozens of Russia-backed Wagner mercenaries in northern Mali last July. At first, mercenary groups with an arm's-length relationship to the Kremlin entered the fray in Africa. But increasingly, Russia is deploying its military might, and intelligence services, more directly. For years, French forces supported counterinsurgency operations in Mali and neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. But France pulled out its troops after coups in Mali in 2020 and 2021, in Burkina Faso in 2022 and Niger in 2023. Wagner Group, the most notable, deployed to Sudan in 2017 and expanded to other African countries, often in exchange for mining concessions. It earned a reputation for brutality, accused by Western countries and UN experts of human rights abuses, including in Central African Republic, Libya and Mali.
There is a void in the Sahel left by the departure of Western states, especially by the French, the United States, and other European countries. So this is an opportunity for Russia that is going to cost them basically almost nothing. Not nothing, but it's an easy win that it's not going to require a lot of resources to be mobilized to exert that influence in the region. Russia's presence through its mercenary group Wagner in Mali is different than its presence in Burkina Faso and Niger. So in Mali, Wagner are fighting with the Malian military side by side. And if we want to assess, I think they have helped them to recapture northern regions from rival groups, but at the same time they continue to struggle in its fight against GNM and the Islamic State, as we have seen in the recent weeks with the repeated attacks in the different parts of the country. The bad things that we have seen is also this extrajudicial killings and human rights violations against populations that are seen to either support or be collaborating with jihadist groups. And because of that reason, I think Burkina Faso and Niger, they are still hesitant on how they want to collaborate with Wagner or Russia in general.